concept for an organization to implement, and I really applaud Boundless for really being at the forefront of what employees are doing. Boundless should be excited that they're embarking upon a total reward system for how they really recognize the value of their employees. What we know is the organizations that think about total rewards really are thinking about not just compensation, but how do they holistically take care of their employees in a number of ways. And one of those ways is making sure they have an environment where the people and the culture are aligned so that every employee and every team member can have an opportunity to bring their authentic selves to work, to thrive and grow in an environment that's supportive and that gives them the best opportunity to give their best work. At the end of that process, what you see is a whole lot of benefits that Boundless would enjoy. Things like greater productivity, things like serving your clients and individuals better, things like reduced conflicts between individuals, and things like improved communication. And you get a lot of value from that, right? At the end of the day, what you see is higher levels of morale and satisfaction among staff. We see our clients being served better. We see outcomes at the organizational level that are achievable and sustainable over time. And we see better communication both inside the organization as well as externally. So DEI is getting thrown around all kinds of ways, but let's break it down really simply. We're talking about diversity, which is the D. It really deals with all the ways that individuals can be different, perhaps we're all alike. It deals with all of the unique characteristics that make us who we are as individuals. And we often see that represented through things like various cultures, race, religion, ethnicity. Some of those aspects will be seen to the naked eye and others will be intrinsic to that individual, but all are important for organizations to thrive and grow. And then we have equity. At its core, equity is really the work of how do you ensure organizations and systems are really about being fair and just for everybody. And the notion of equity really is a little different because it really helps us to think about how do we do systems and structures differently in order to right some of the historic wrongs that have plagued our society, our city, and our organizations. And so the work of equity really is about how do we retool systems and structures to be more accommodating, more inclusive of all of those individuals. So the work of equity really starts to look at the environment. What do people need to be successful? It might look differently than the seed next to it, but at the end of the day, if our real goal is to grow people and organizations that really do the work in an intentional way, we've got to focus on the soil. And so the work of equity for me is not just focusing on that seed, but making sure that the soil is right. And that's the soil we're working on here at Boundless. And then finally, we have this notion of inclusion, which is really the best part. How do you make sure that folks aren't just invited to the table, but that they are active participants, that their voices are heard while they are part at that table? And how do you give them a meaningful voice and a say in how the organization behaves, how we think about goals and strategies, and how we move the work forward? The success of this work really will be tied to taking a comprehensive view of what it means to build an equity-focused organization. At Boundless, what we understand is this is work we have to do for the long term. And so investing in these strategies over time will get us the kind of results that we need. So Boundless is doing a great job in thinking about diversity, equity, inclusion in a comprehensive way. By making sure this is a part of the strategic plan, you're already ensuring that this is not something we forget about. Because what we know is what gets measured gets managed. And so the approach we are embarking upon at Boundless really is about all of the comprehensive approaches that really make for an equity-focused organization. Things like leadership, making sure that the individuals in the organization who are in leadership roles display the type of behaviors and are modeling the way. We think about things like workplace climate, individuals making sure that they are tooling the environment around their employees to really be one that champions things like inclusion and belonging. We think about the areas of like reporting and accountability, where we have to make sure we have the data to support the work we want to do long term, and that we're thinking about how to use that data to consistently improve the organization. At the end of the day, it's all about alignment, and those are just a few of the areas we're going to be focused on in this strategy. But what we're really focused on is making sure that we can be successful, that our people can thrive and grow in a most comprehensive way, and that we really have the data to support where we need to go now and in the future. That's the work of building an equity-focused organization, and Boundless is well on its way to being successful. So the question of where we start is where most organizations ask. The first, to my leaders, I would say, you got to start by listening. There are pockets of your organization that you probably haven't heard from, who either don't feel empowered or you simply haven't asked their perspectives about how it is we move this work forward. It's important that they be engaged and that you are willing and open to listening. On the other side of that, for us, members of the staff, it's important that you start talking. Being open, transparent, and vulnerable about what you need in the workplace, about areas of improvement, really only help to improve the organization and all the work that we have ahead of us. And then finally, I would just say to you, you have to remain curious as an organization. Asking yourselves questions consistently like, what parts of our team aren't fully engaged or empowered? Do we have policies that have unintended consequences for any groups? Are we seeing the types of diversity at every level of the organization we want to see? And are we collecting the data that will help us to be able to tell the story and to be able to constantly improve the work that we are doing? There's a role for leaders and there's a role for all members of the team. But at the end of the day, what we want is working hand in hand to really build the equity-focused organization we all want to know and love. You're well on your way, Boundless team, to making that happen. And all you can continue to do is learn and move down the continuum. I would leave you with some advice that just simply thinks about that the work of building an equity-focused organization is not about a destination. It is all about the journey. Stay in it, stay learning, stay inspired.